Okay, the paperwork's done. You've made the decision. It's time to go on the market. It's time to get your house actually ready for sale and to put it on the market. So with me again is Robin Dempsey, Senior Real Estate Advisor with the Home Marketing Group, who again has closed hundreds of deals and understands this process, understands what you need to do to get to that point. Some things that are probably important to very important when it comes to getting your house on the market. And I think that first point is, what are some things that we need to do to the house specifically, some of the basics, like decluttering, staging, organizing. Go through a little bit about what you tell people to do with their house to get that, what we call show ready.
Yeah, so as far as decluttering, I always tell everybody's definition of clutter is very, very different. So go through your house, start packing things up, put things in boxes. You can still live there, but really just clean lines. You want people to focus on their stuff and the sizes of the room. I say put all the boxes in the garage if it doesn't take away from the integrity of the size of the garage. So you're really just trying to give a sense of my house is clean, it's move-in ready, it's potential, not a problem. So decluttering, staging is something that we can certainly help you with, just kind of moving what you have around and setting things up so the rooms look bigger, the house looks cleaner, and the photos are fantastic. And then, organization, you want to make sure that the closet is clean. I mean, it really just depends on the home itself. I tell people you've got to live there while you list it. So it's okay if there are some things that are a little bit disorganized, but there's certainly a lot of steps that we can take to make your home look ready to rock.
Right. So in general, we're trying to get the house as organized as possible and depersonalize it as possible. Mm-hmm. Because again, when someone sees your house and they're going in, they have to envision themselves living in it. Yeah. And so we want to try to set that up as best we can for that person. So you want to make sure that you're giving yourself the best chance to give that buyer a vision of them being in that house. So depersonalizing is good. Now, a lot of times people have a question like, well, what do we do with my stuff? Like if I'm going to declutter, depersonalize, I got to put those things somewhere. Mm-hmm. And so storage becomes an issue. The default ends up being the garage. Depending on your garage is usually the default place if you don't have anywhere else to go. That's probably where you're at. Don't fill up one room in the house. Excuse me. If you can, to not put things in there, because that room, obviously, people are going to want to go in and see it. But a garage is good. A pod, if you can help it, not in the front yard.
Please, yeah.
Yes. Not only for photos, but when someone drives by your house and they're like, ooh, this house is on the market, I'm interested in seeing, there's a big pod in front. It can hurt your chances and can limit the curb appeal of the property. So we're going to try to keep things out of the yard that we're storing in if possible. Or if you can get a storage building somewhere, a unit, just temporarily to put things until you get to your next place, that's also a good idea.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've got the house ready. It looks pretty good. Now we need to get photos. Depending on the situation, you're going to figure out like your time frame for the photos, how you're going to want to do it. But the one thing that we 100% recommend is use a professional photographer for those photos.
Please do.
Yeah, we get this. The new iPhones are great. They take great photos, and you can do a lot on your own now with some high quality things. But a professional photographer is not only going to be able to edit those photos, they're also going to take the photos in angles with wide angle lenses that give your house the most flattering look possible. So we actually will hire a professional photographer, or your real estate agent will. Really, really go for those things. I tell everybody I can barely take a selfie, so I don't even trust myself taking photos of your home. But you can absolutely take away from the home. You can make rooms look smaller. The lighting can be wrong. I can't tell you how many times we've seen homes that with a professional photographer there, you're like, wait, that doesn't even look like my house. So that really is a big deal. Yeah. Yeah. And so we're trying to develop a picture for a buyer to say, oh, okay, this is what we want to see. The goal of the photos and the marketing and everything is to get people to the house. So we want to make sure that your presentation of your house is the best it could possibly be. Mm-hmm. And so obviously getting that professional photographer to do that. Now, if you live on land or you live near a golf course or a lake or you have pretty aesthetics around your property, we highly recommend aerial photos with that professional photography as well. Certain scenarios is not as important, but for the most part, being able to see the surroundings is a selling feature, especially if you've got mountains, like I said, or sort of lakes or anything like that. So always consider the aerial photos as well. And when talking to photographers or agents, ask them about aerial photos. Are they going to be part of the marketing package, as well as maybe a walkthrough video as well?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Drone
Yeah.
is king.
Yeah, it really is. And the drones now take really, really good photos, and you can actually do videos. It's pretty cool. You can actually do drones through the house. There's a lot of different things you can do. Okay, next thing is measurements. Sometimes slides a little bit under the radar, or it doesn't seem as important, but having your house professionally measured by a licensed appraiser, highly recommended. And here's why. Knowing the correct square footage of your home is important for two main reasons. One, we want to make sure that square footage is right, so we're pricing it right. If for some reason we think we think the square footage is 5,000 square feet, and we have it professionally measured, it ends up being 6,000 square feet.
Yeah.
What does that do to your price?
It's a lot of money in your pocket.
It does one of two things. It makes your house even more valuable at the price you've listed it for, or it allows you to go up in price. So we want to make sure we get that right. Sometimes, especially for people that have added onto a basement or sunroom, or there's been some modifications to the house at some point, aren't 100% sure what the size of it is. So it's important that we know that. On the flip side, if it ends up being a little bit smaller than we thought, then we also need to adjust the price, because what we don't want to do is get it under contract, find out the house is a little bit smaller than we thought, and then we have to make price adjustments, or it doesn't appraise at that point, and you're far enough along in the process where that could cause problems.
And you certainly want to know that ahead of time. Finding out when you're in the middle of a deal that, your home is 300 or 400 square feet smaller than you thought is a pretty devastating blow that happens to a lot of people.
Right. It's better to make those adjustments before you go on the market than when you're under contract. And really, knowing those measurements are important to do that. And a lot of buyers will feel more comfortable with your house if they know the exact square footage and they have some idea of the room dimensions, especially people that are living out of state. They're looking at that stuff online. And if they see the dimensions that I need a certain size living room and they can see that already on your listing, that's a big selling feature, and it definitely helps you separate yourself from other people as well. So always, we recommend getting those measurements before you go on the market. Okay. So last thing at this phase, before we get to the point where it's actually on the market, is, again, where are you going? What are we doing at that point? If you're, again, moving to another house and you haven't figured that out yet, this is the time where I think, you start scheduling showings, you start narrowing down your list. What are some things you tell people at this point when they're involved in a home search as well as the home sale?
So it's really important to have your home ready to go on the market, especially for the contingencies, because they are a little bit harder to navigate. We're certainly capable, but they are a little bit more difficult. But, you've got to figure out, does a school zone matter? Do you want to be 20 miles from your office? Do you need to be 10 miles from a Target? You definitely want to figure those things out before, and we can start showing. I can't tell you how many times I've had people that said, I need 2,000 square feet or nothing at all, and they've gone in a 1,500 square foot home and gone, wait, this works. Or, maybe we thought we just needed a one-car garage and we need it too. So that's also a really important step in this is knowing where we're going to go next, setting these things up, and starting to narrow that down so you know what some non-negotiable items you want in your next home.
Yeah, you don't want to wait until you're on the market with a contract to try to figure all this stuff out, because, again, you're probably going to be on a shorter timeline at that point to try to have a house lined up. Now, if you've already got a place lined up, that's great. But again, most people are moving from one house to another. You're going to want to work at these things at the same time. And at that point, showings, if you're moving out of state, you may want to make a trip to the place you're going to and start looking at property at that point and be ready to pull the trigger on a contract, because as soon as your house goes on the market, that's the time to really get serious about it. So in the next episode, we're going to be talking about when you're on the market, what you're going to be doing, what the expectations are, how you need to approach that, again, to get that offer that you want and to get that sales price that you want that meets your goal and motivation for selling your home.
Get it sold.
Yes.